Good morning, everyone. My name is Cornelia Stevens. I'm the Executive Director of Top Early Learning Centers in Wichita, Kansas, and I have the privilege of serving as the chair of the Early Childhood Recommendations panel. I'd like to begin by thanking our panel members for serving our Kansas children and their families, and for your dedication and commitment to our early childhood system in Kansas. This is a remote meeting, so today's meeting materials are posted on the panel meetings webpage at kschildrenscabinet.org. Panel members will clearly identify themselves when they begin speaking and can use their raise hands feature to show that they are ready to share, so that way we don't miss anybody that has question or comment. On today's agenda, we are going to approve our January agenda, approve the November meeting minutes. We don't have anybody present or to speak or present anything on the Kansas Open Forum. Is that correct? Okay, and but I will share information about that in case we have anybody that would like to share information with the panel. We'll have a request from the Wellbeing Pathway Focus Group, an update on the career pathway implementation. We'll have reports from the All In for Kansas Kids Tactic Work Group. And then panel members, go on ahead and start thinking now about bright spots or upcoming any kind of events or anything like that that you would like to share. And then we'll discuss upcoming meetings and then adjourn. So again, panel members, please clearly identify yourselves when you are making a second motion. So first, I would like to have an approval of the January agenda.
This is Natalie McLean. I'll make a motion to approve the November agenda.
So, Lindsay, it should be January, correct? There you go. Okay, yeah. So Natalie,
January agenda.
We were tricking you to see, it was all intentional, and so this is our first meeting since November. So there you go. So thank you for catching that in terms of that. But yes, we're all good. So thank you, Natalie. May I have a second?
This is Marita Saltuna. I second.
Perfect. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Or thumbs
Aye.
up. Any opposed, same sign. All right, Lindsay did send out the November minutes, and on the minutes, there was a minor adjustment, which were changes to people's names and or their organization that they work for. There was no change or revision to any of the content itself of the minutes that were sent out. So with that being said, may I have an approval of the November minutes? May I have a vote to approve the November minutes?
This is Patty Peschel, and I'll move to approve the November minutes with the minor adjustments.
Perfect. May I have a second?
This is Emily Barnes. I'll second.
Perfect. All those in favor say aye or thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. I had my first in-person meeting a couple of months ago, and I literally almost told people to give me a thumbs up, and so it became like so habit, right? So anyhow, so we do have an opportunity for Kansans to submit comments and or either written or can join the meetings virtually if you have information that you would like to share with the recommendations panel. We would actually ask you to submit your comments through the Kansas Open Forum comment form, which is on the Children's Cabinet website by 5 p.m. the day preceding each meeting, so that you can share comments again with the panel. Today, we do not have anybody for the open forum, but again, we do encourage you if in fact you have anything that you would like to share. We do have a request from the Wellbeing Pathway Focus Group for panel members. So the Wellbeing Pathway team is recruiting 4 to 6 panel members to weigh in on next steps as part of a series of focus groups. The request is that you participate in a 1-hour virtual focus group near the end of February. If you are interested in serving and volunteering to serve on the focus group, please let Lindsay know that you're interested. You can email her at the email listed, but I think you all have her email address, and she will connect you to the team. And again, we would like to have 4 to 6 panel members weigh in and participate in the focus group. So if you are interested in participating, please let Lindsay know. For our first update, we're actually going to hear from the Career Pathway Implementation Project. And so I am going to turn that over to those individuals. We have a group of people, Bronwyn, Patty, Stephanie, and Sharon, who will are leading this work or whatnot. And we will turn it over to you and get an update on the early childhood career pathway.
Good. Thank you so much. We appreciate the opportunity to share the work that's underway. We have a lot of information to share with you this morning, so we'll try to be expeditious. We're excited to share. So I'm Bronwyn Fees. I am the PI I'm the connection between Kansas State University and Kansas Child Care Training Opportunities, or what we refer to as short, CASITO. I serve on the leadership team for the Career Pathway, for the implementation of the Career Pathway with the CASITO organization in K-State. And I'm joined this morning, as mentioned here, by other members of our leadership team, and that includes Patty Peschel, the director of CASITO, Dr. Stephanie Parks, who's the associate director for our Career Pathway implementation, and Sharon Field, who is our project coordinator for the Career Pathway. And you'll hear from each of them this morning, because this is a joint effort. The CASITO team began work on the implementation of the Career Pathway back in March of 2023. So we'll go to the next slide. Thank you. As you all are aware, a career pathway was identified in Goal 6, the workforce goal within the All In for Kansas Kids strategic plan. And CASITO is implementing this pathway with many, many partners who spent a number of years, several years prior to this implementation, co-creating the career pathway. And those include the Children's Cabinet and Trust Fund, CPPR, Department for Children and Families, who is our funder, Kansas Department of Health and Environment, Kansas State Department of Education, professional development organizations across the state, of course, higher education, and I should say, of course, the workforce, the voices of the workforce. We're all involved in co-creating the pathway. This implementation that we that is in process, we continue those partnerships and have also included K-State Research and Extension and Kansas State Office of Educational Innovation and Evaluation, and as well the several consultants from the BUILD initiative who are giving us guidance throughout the year. So our collective goal for the state of Kansas is to develop a robust career pathway for early childhood care and education professionals, as you can see here on the slide, that's consistently and meaningfully available, that is meaningful and consistently available and applied across all ECCE programs, including child care centers, licensed and group child care homes and preschools, Head Start, school age programs. It's quite comprehensive throughout Kansas. The career pathway will offer a high-level roadmap, which you will see here shortly, and may already be well engaged in that, knowing who's on this recommendations panel, to advancing the roles or expertise within the profession tied to opportunities to earn increased compensation. So next slide. And I'll turn it over to Patty.
Thank you, Bronwyn. So as Bronwyn mentioned, we are charged here with implementing the career pathway for the Kansas early childhood care and education professionals through Kansas Child Care Training Opportunities. Just a quick overview for those that are not aware of what the work that CASITO does. We have both the Workforce Development and Infant Toddler Specialist Network projects that are funded with Child Care Development Block Grant dollars administered by Department for Children and Families. So this slide here just provides this screenshot from our website, as well as if you look at the QR code up in the upper right-hand corner there, you'll be able to, it will take you to a link tree with multiple career pathway website pages and information related to the career pathway, including the tool, the All In for Kansas Kids site, a video explaining the career pathway, as well as ways to connect with the career pathway team to ask questions, submit feedback, and even schedule a virtual meeting with us. So if at the conclusion of this, if you have thoughts, ideas, would like to share information, there is a link there that you can click on to connect with us, and we welcome feedback. Next slide.
Okay, thank you, Patty. So she mentioned the tool. This is the schematic that represents the work of many, the career pathway for Kansas early childhood care and education professionals in the state. Just want to highlight a couple of things on the pathway. There's a lot to study here, but given our time, would like to highlight a couple of characteristics or features. First off, you'll notice on the bottom left-hand side, it begins with the letter P or entry to the profession, and then moves up incrementally to 7 levels. So from P to 7 on the left side. You will also notice that there are 2 colors of bars, or each level has 2 pathways in it, represented by kind of a blue color and a purple color. One of them is the light blue is a professional learning focus path, and the more purplish color is the higher education path for professional development. So one is credit bearing and one is non-credit bearing. On the top, you will see at the top of the schematic there, we start on the left side, the word level, and then the word there's a column with reference that provides a title for or the number of hours for the particular path level. Then there's the education or credential associated with that particular level. Then professional learning hours required for that level. And experience. Kansas is, at the forefront of thinking about the tremendous experience that many of our providers bring already to the career pathway. And so there's a recognition of experience. And then professional supports. For example, you can see listed here, coaching and mentoring. This is a competency-based pathway, so we will be integrating with the work of the Kansas Core Comps group. Shout out to them for the tremendous amount of work that they have done. And the goal here is for every professional to be able to see themselves on this pathway and to be able to see clearly, as stated in the All In for Kansas Kids Strategic Plan, how to map out or how to advance their knowledge and skills as professionals. Next slide. So this morning, we're going to share with you 5 highlights from our work. We're highlighting, again, with many partners, our listening sessions that we've done to date. We'll talk about the comprehensive workforce survey, our collaboration with higher education, our work in building coaching for success, and also the Elevate Your Career course that has been developed. And so I'm going to turn it over to our team members to expand on each one of those. So Stephanie Parks.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So the listening sessions, the purpose of them were held to guide our implementation plan for the career pathway. There were 17 listening sessions that many of you may have been involved in, held throughout August and September of last year. Some were during the weekdays. We tried nap time, as well as the evenings and weekends. Overall, there were 212 participants. 46 of those participants were ECCE professionals across the state. And you can see on the map that we attempted to recruit professionals from across the state, and we had 21 counties represented. We also wanted to hear from stakeholder groups who support the early childhood professional workforce in the field, and including licensing specialists, higher education faculty, state level agencies, committees, and workforce development advisory group. Next slide, please. Listening sessions were facilitated by an outside consultant from the Build Initiative, who quite eloquently asked questions and promoted discussions to help guide the implementation of the career pathway. These listening sessions were recorded and transcribed. So you can imagine the amount of data that was collected over those 17 sessions. People shared their viewpoints as well as their own career journey stories. So what did we hear from the field? We heard reoccurring themes over and over again, and I've pulled out just a few quotes to illustrate some of the typical comments that were heard. In terms of higher education, we heard very clearly that people are interested in advancing along the career pathway, but there are often some significant challenges and barriers that get in the way with pursuing higher education. So two of the people, I pulled their quotes here. This person says, knowing I have at least probably another 20 years of working, yes, I would use a scholarship to earn a degree. Another person talked about how living in a rural community, she's not close to any campus, that even if I was to say, okay, I'll go through K-State, I'm not close enough to make that work. There were also discussions about compensation. That was a topic that we heard consistently again throughout our listening sessions. I'm paraphrasing here, but one of the quotes was something like, parents can't afford to pay more and I can't afford to ask for less. And yet they discussed, again, their stories about how they recognize how valuable they are to their communities and to how valuable our workforce is. This person, in terms of compensation, said, what's the incentive for me to go back at this point and get another bachelor's degree? Implying, and the discussion then there was, because I won't earn more money necessarily if I, in our field. So, and then there was also great discussions about barriers to recruitment into the early childhood workforce, and people repeatedly discussed professionalism, and that's what this last quote here is about. I think one of the biggest barriers is just the fact that not being seen as a professional. So many people consider you just being like, you're a babysitter. It's like, why would I even push to be better when people don't see me as a professional? There are executive summaries, as well as simple, accessible, topical briefs based on these findings that reflect the voices from the field, as well as implications for our work and hopefully future policy and advocacy efforts. This executive summary and one-page reports will be coming very soon. Next slide, please. Next, I'd like to talk with you about the comprehensive workforce study that is underway right now. Next slide. The Early Childhood Care and Education Comprehensive Workforce Study is comprised of two parts. The first is a survey that was launched just a few days before Thanksgiving. We are recruiting professionals who are currently in the workforce, as well as people who have left the early childhood workforce. And we have to date, as of yesterday, I think, we have over 3,000 completers of the survey to date. This QR code on the slide takes you to a link to complete a form asking for information to verify that the person who is requesting to complete the survey is someone who has or is working in the early childhood field in Kansas. Once verified, the participant will be sent to a link to the actual survey, their own individual link. And the survey will be open until the end of February. Next slide, please. Oops, I forgot to say something. Let me go back one more. Sorry, Lindsay. I apologize. So there is a financial incentive for completing the survey as a thank you for people's time and effort, up to $100. Okay. Next slide. Thank you. So this is a map of counties that the 3,000 to date survey completers are from. We attempted to estimate here the number of early childhood professionals in each county to try to get an estimate of a percentage of participants per county. So this data is an estimate of how many facilities and personnel are available, early childhood people are in that county. However, we recognize that these numbers are skewed because we are recruiting current and past professionals, as well as teachers and paraprofessionals within school districts, and those would not be accounted for within these numbers either. But the percentages, they're very small. I'm sorry, it's probably hard to read, but the percentage, we wanted to see if we are at least reaching participants across the state. And so you can see that there are all but 4 counties that have at least one person participating in the survey. And the dark blue color are counties that have a higher percentage of participants that have responded, and relative to how many providers there are in that area, professionals in that area. So there's only 4 counties in Kansas that 4 out of the 105 counties in Kansas that don't have someone that has participated yet, but we are actively still recruiting. Our methodology for part 2 of the comprehensive workforce study will be focus groups this spring. And based on the results from our survey, we will target specific demographic groups, locations, roles, in an attempt to capture a more comprehensive representation of the workforce. Protocol, including the interview or discussion questions, will be developed based on lingering questions from the survey results, as well as topics in which we want to dig deeper into and to have a better understanding. Next slide, please.
Stephanie, real quick, we did have a question. Will the survey results be shared out?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, we will be sharing those in meetings like this, as well as there'll be written documents and things that are available that we will be disseminating on websites. Though we will send out information where you can get that and use that data, those results for your purposes also. And so those will be available on our website, and we'll have more information about where to find those. And we look forward to you helping us disseminate those results.
Okay. Thank you, Stephanie. So I will jump in here next and talk about our number 3, our higher education collaboration. So our secondary and our post-secondary institutions are primary partners in this career pathway implementation process, as you saw on the tool itself. So we invited faculty from the higher education institutions across the state to join us in Manhattan for a day to learn about the career pathway and the implementation, and to gather information from them. Clearly, they are all partners, strong and fundamental partners in this implementation process. Our goal is to build collaboration and partnership among these institutions and focus collectively on the recruitment, the retention, and the completion or graduation for qualified professionals. This is a long-term process and a commitment among many of our, across our institutions. And this was an initial meeting, as you can see here, it was on December 12th. And so we're planning multiple meetings to come to build that partnership between our institutions. This meeting was facilitated, as you can see on the left side of your screen, by 2 of our consultants from the Build Initiative, who helped us plan and organize and present the meeting and agenda. And you can see the goals of the meeting in front of you was to build collaboration, to discuss successes and share challenges and barriers between our institutions, to partner to ensure quality preparation of professional learning for a diverse workforce, and to support and to understand the support from the career pathways. Very excited about the work to come collectively from our institutions. Next slide. We shared at that meeting, the higher education group, I'll preface say here, four-year institutions collectively refer to themselves as ECHO and the two-year as EQUIP. So that's where those two terms come from. We shared that at this meeting that the pathway team shared what we had learned from the workforce and the support that the workforce is seeking from higher education from our listening sessions. We shared the students' experiences that were shared with us, and we'll certainly focus on high quality student experiences moving forward. We will examine our curriculum among our 2- and 4-year institutions across all our high institutions of higher education, certainly considering and integrating the Kansas core competencies in the early learning guidelines and many more documents to help guide our thinking. We are working toward articulation between our programs. So there is a clear pathway for learners moving between institutions and removing any barriers that currently exist. And we're seeking to be innovative and responsive to what we have heard from the workforce and the needs of the learners in the workforce. Not everyone is able to come to a campus in order to continue their education. So how do we work with our learners in place in order to bring them and partner with them and support them with the information and skills that they are seeking to develop? Okay, I will turn it over then to Sharon.
Next slide, please. So as part of our career pathway work, we wanted to introduce coaching for success. Can you go to the next slide, please? Oh, there you go. We offered a training for trainer event in which we had 55 professionals from multiple agencies and across all funded projects. Participants in this training for trainers represented all regions of Kansas in a wide array of coaching experience, from new coaches to those who've been in the field for many years. Throughout this event, we reviewed the Kansas career pathway for early childhood care and education professionals and how that equated to their work. We had an overview of the individual professional development plan and how to use the self-assessment of the new Kansas core comps along with the goal planning sheets to support early educators in continuing their learning journey. The focus of the afternoon was really on child-centered coaching, taking coaching from the lens of Yuri Bronfenbrenner as the child is in the center of what we do, and keeping in mind that as coaches in the ECE system, that we're really there to support the child and their growth and development. We also talked about insisting on success, which really came down to coaching for further professional learning, whether it was credit-bearing or non-credit-bearing opportunities, but taking into account the barriers for the adult learner and how to coach with insisting on success that supports this learner in overcoming the barriers and gaining confidence in their learning journey. We also discussed the art of coaching and the relationship-based learning, which was also a focus on mutuality. The day ended with 2 really critical discussions for these coaches: is what are the essential traits of a coach? And how does this support the early childhood workforce? And then what elements are needed to ensure their success? Can you go to the next slide, please? So some of the next steps out of this was to look at the Elevate Your Career course, how to use the individualized professional development plan with our participants that we're currently coaching and those that we'll coach in the future, and then the role and use of potential career navigators. Next slide, please. I wanted to introduce you to the Elevate Your Career course. Next slide, please. This is an asynchronous course that will begin on January 25th. It will run for 2 weeks. And this course is designed to empower the early childhood care and education professional to reach new heights in their professional journey. This comprehensive course is crafted to provide participants with a deep understanding of the Kansas career pathway for early childhood care and education professionals, the Kansas core comps, and encourage self-reflection through the lens of the self-assessment and equip individuals to design personalized professional development plans. Each participant will complete the 2-hour asynchronous learning in their first week of the course. And then the second week focuses on the participant completing an individualized professional development plan with their trainer. This is to help formalize their learning goals and start crafting their learning journey. After submitting their finalized IPDP, participants will be eligible for a stipend. This is also to help compensate the time that it takes to fill out an IPDP because it requires a self-assessment and really a different type of view of your own professional development. This course is going to be offered online currently with plans for in-person and live virtual offerings here very shortly. And I'm going to hand this off to Patty.
Great. Well, the easiest part here, just wrapping up. As you've heard from this career pathway team, they have been working tirelessly over the last year, putting together from the voices from the field, which we will continue with the focus group study and this comprehensive workforce study as we continue to gather those as well. Professional learning, the career navigators, the supporting the registry development as well, and the work that's going on with higher education. They have upcoming meetings scheduled as well with looking at articulation, and they will have the mini grants available. So, and you can go to next slide. We're really open at this time for questions. Really want to hear your feedback and input. With that, thank you very much for your time.
Just a quick reminder to our panel members, we don't use the chat for the meeting to ask questions. So unfortunately, you'll have to raise your hand or come off mute. But if you'd like to send in a chat, I'm happy to read out your question for you if that is easier for you. But everyone else is not seeing it, just me.
This is Emily Barnes. Patty and Bronwyn, I'm actually kind of interested. I have a lot of thoughts going right now, and I don't know exactly how to put them into a coherent question at this moment because the thoughts I have are going in about 3 different directions. And so basically, would you be willing to meet with me offline to kind of talk through some of the thoughts in my head? Like I have some ideas on some things, and I like what I'm seeing, and so would you be interested in meeting about this?
Of course, yes. And I know that QR code was up before, and there is a link there, but we can sure just reach out to you individually, Emily, and you're in good company because I always have thoughts going in all different directions as well.
Right.
And you know, and we can also as we talk through and make sure we can take that back to the group as well. So
Okay.
Always welcome for the conversation.
Yeah,
Great,
our contact is on the slide, so you can email either one of us, set up a time to talk. Absolutely.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you.
Eldana? You're on mute now.
Well, Eldana, I'm noticing that you're not muted.
That's
So
right,
I'm
your
not
sound is
sure,
not on.
maybe your microphone is not working. So we're going to pretend like this is you. Hi, this is Eldana. Is registration still open to childcare providers for the course?
Yes, it's just the first course session is on January 25th, so next week, but it's going to be offered over the course of the next several months. We will have multiple sessions for child providers, assuming you're referring to the Elevate Your Career course. We will have opportunities every week for providers to continue to register for the course. And as Sharon mentioned, we will then have that course available in live virtual and face-to-face here in the near future.
We've set up a team of trainers, individuals who will be offering multiple sections, so we will make every effort to accommodate the demand for the course. Hopefully, high demand for the course.
Perfect. Kelly?
Hi, I was wondering if you would speak to the decision to sort of stop at a bachelor's level instead of maybe going another tier higher to a graduate degree, thinking of, professionals, then either educating other professionals through the process or things along those lines.
Yeah, I can address that. At this time, what we've had is the input that was gathered to develop this career pathway. And this is really the, career pathway 1.0. We know we will continue to, based on feedback. That's why we are really having these ongoing continuous feedback sessions and getting input from the field, just like you, Kelly, hearing that input, that there's a need and that we will continue to be responsive to that. It's something critical for us is that we see that this career pathway continues to evolve, just as we all do in the field. And that has been raised in both our, feedback sessions that we've had thus far as well, that is a concern. And so that is something that we're looking at, addressing. So I appreciate your input and, welcome again for you to provide written feedback as well and input, so we have that as we make informed decisions.
Perfect. Any other questions or comments?
I'll just jump in here and emphasize what Patty is saying. This is a collective effort. We need everybody's voice. And the feedback that you provide is fundamentally important. So if you have thoughts over the course of today or the weekend, or wherever, please write them down. Please send them to us. You can use any of our emails, or you can upload them in the Casito on the website, Casito website. There's a space there for feedback. Written comments are really helpful as we are documenting all that we receive and trying to respond to them. Some things we can respond to, immediately. Others will be in the strategic planning as we move forward. But I can't emphasize enough how important it is that everybody's voice is heard. So please don't shy away from sharing, whether it's in writing or a phone call or email conversation. We need to hear everyone's voice.
So again, as requested, if anybody has comments, thoughts, anything like that, please feel free to reach out to any of the 4 individuals here on the screen. Thank you so much again for giving us the update. I'm looking forward to, all of this as I'm even looking at like our team and what we can do to be able to support them, in their growth or whatnot as a professional. So thank you for the update and the presentation. Next, we're going to have updates from our work groups. The first work group that we will hear from is Tactic 611, which is compensation and benefits.
Hi, this is Heather Schroberger with Kansas Head Start Association. Our work group met with a consulting group that's working on a compensation study for Kansas in November. We didn't meet in December, and we're actually meeting with them again, so we don't have any specific updates other than that to offer today.
Perfect. May I hear from strategy 4.2, which is our family-friendly workplaces?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dana Book. I'm with the Kansas Children's Service League, and we met. And here's my first takeaway, and it doesn't always apply, but if you schedule a meeting for 30 minutes, you can get a lot done when you put that when you put that on yourself. So we met for half an hour, and we came away with a lot of things. And anybody familiar with what we do can tell you that sometimes this is grindy work that we're out there doing. What we've known is that we have 2 existing initiatives that are doing very similar work, and we've kind of struggled to figure out where the cross section is and how we can dovetail. And we made a lot of progress in that work in our last meeting. So Brenda Bandy and the Kansas Breastfeeding Coalition oversees the First 1,000 Days campaign and their Family Forward campaign. KCSL is involved with the Family Friendly Workplace campaign. And again, we do very similar work. And we've talked that through. So we've made a lot of progress on how those intersect, and that felt really, really nice to come to that. That was the first thing we discussed. And we talked about how we can engage specifically state agencies in this work, and even more specifically Department of Commerce and Department of Labor, as looking at what their role would be in these initiatives as we move forward. And so we've kind of started formulating who we can talk to and what that would look like, and how we promote the initiatives on websites and within internal marketing. And then we talked about potential for outreach. Brenda and I are actually presenting here in a couple of weeks for the Kansas City Women's Chamber of Commerce. And it's probably, hopefully, likely going to be like the initial part of the roadshow as we get out and raise awareness around the work we're doing. And so that, again, we did all that in about 30 minutes, and there was more that we came up with. But as far as next steps and where we go, I want to echo Bronwyn's statement. We're all here pursuing very similar causes, and so we need to solicit feedback and insight from everyone in the group, not just the people in the work group. And I would imagine by the time we meet again next month, we'll have some more specific asks of the group, but kind of be thinking about that. But our specific goals at this point is to really dig down and address the original recommendations that we had and Melissa's comments, and answer those questions and make sure that we're concise and accurate on those responses. And then just really continue to keep working to build partnerships across agencies, and not just those two that I mentioned, but everybody in the room here, right? We all have a role to play in that. So again, it was probably the best I've felt after a 30-minute meeting. So I'm open for questions, comments, feedback. Or if anybody in the group knows something that I probably left out of that, feel free to jump in too.
Thank you for that update, Dana. And I have actually made a mental note to myself that all of my meetings with my staff will be no longer than 30 minutes now. And so we will make that happen to see how that works and how productive we are. So thank you for that. Can we have an update from Tactic Group 712 on zoning?
Yeah, I'm going to start out. The last time we met was in November, after the November panel meeting. And we discussed at that time kind of putting together some questions that we want to put out a survey over the HOA, similar to the survey we did over zoning last spring. And so we'll continue that work today after this meeting. We do have a proposal put together for the zoning, but we were kind of waiting for a completed toolkit that the Go team was working on. And since then, they have come up with a web page that is beyond what we thought it would be. And Tanya with our group is part of the Go team. So I'm going to let her jump in and talk a little bit about that. I think Lindsay has the link and was going to kind of share that. So I'll let them take over, but that is where we're at with zoning right now.
Thank you, Christy. I'll just kind of give a high overview of this and we can share the link. So we started out thinking we would do a toolkit that could be shared with communities who are trying to build childcare capacity, and ended up with a website, mainly because the website really could enhance way more. Than it kept getting bigger and bigger for the toolkit. And so we decided a website would be easier because we could add to it quicker, and it would be giving links and go straight to the partners' websites and always be current. So the very top kind of orange bar there is a step-by-step how to talk to or your county and city individuals when the zoning in your counties are more strict than childcare licensing. So it does kind of go through and give you those, like I did, guides of how to talk to them about it and possibly get those changed. So it's just a step-by-step guide. You don't have to go all the way through, but it does give you those ideas. As you scroll down, you'll see that we cover then some family-friendly workplace, which we thought was important. Child care support contacts is another link. We did a zoning link, which we will be able to add on to as more information comes in. Right now, there's an FAQ that covers a lot of questions that individuals have brought forward and came out of our zoning Q&A around, like, my community, in my community, we can't do this. Why is that? And a lot of it was because it was a zoning, not a KDHE regulation. So KDHE, the fire marshal, food program, they all answered these questions so that it'll help kind of with some of those confusions. And then there's some helpful articles here that we thought would be nice. So some of those you'll also see in other spots. We may duplicate, but that's okay to get in a couple different spots. We're really excited about the Are You Ready to Join Forces? The local child care coalition link takes you to a map that starts giving you information about the child care coalitions in the state. We know there's way more coalitions in the state than what is shown here. These are the coalitions that have given us permission, and if you hover over any of the blue ones and click on it, these are who's given us permission to list their contact. So we're still working with coalitions to say, yes, here's the information you can give on your website. So this will grow. The next step to this is, as we get the stories of the coalition, we'll give them their own web page. So we'll be able to click on it. It'll go to another web page, give you the contact, and give you the story of what that coalition has done to build childcare capacity. So we're in phase 1 here. We're not done, but we wanted to at least get the coalition information out there. So let's say Patty is in a community. She wants to join her coalition. She can go here and know who to contact. So it just is a quick reference for communities. And then as you go down, we have a lot of our articles about the different articles that we have. The Joining Forces is an article from Wichita and how they changed coalitions or changed some zoning zoning regulations, and Saline County. Both of those have done it so far. How businesses can use the child care tax credit is a really good one that just came out. This does really talk about how the business tax credit. It's got a calculator. This was a partnership with Waco, Wyandotte County. So, and their coalition. So there's lots of clicks, and it's actually up above in the tax credit one. So it's a dual. You'll find it in different slots. We will take feedback if you're like, hey, you missed, this needs to be on here. That's the benefit of this website, is we can keep adding to it. And so that's why we want the website instead of just a paper toolkit, because paper toolkits expire really quick, and then you've got to keep bringing them back in, and you can't take the old ones back out. So that's really quick, but if you have questions, I'm willing to answer those too.
Thank you, Tanya, for that update. Last, we will hear from Tactic Group 615, and that's to document and address recruitment and retention challenges.
Hi, this is Amy, and I apologize. I'm at the airport waiting for a flight. So if you hear a lot of noise in the background, I'm going to keep this brief. First of all I can say is when I grow up, I want to be Tactic Group 7.1.2. You guys are amazing. That was awesome work. And now I actually can see a way forward for our own little toolkit. So this gives me all kinds of ideas. My head is on fire at the moment. So thank you for sharing all of that. You're exactly right. I was getting more and more concerned that our document was going to be hard to keep updating. So the website is a great idea. So thank you for sharing that. We honestly have not met since our last recommendations panel meeting. We were already kind of getting into the woods about details, wording, and trying to narrow down and target audiences and things like that. So a lot of some of what we had been working on was fine tuning. We kept finding that as we would add any sort of a recruitment or retention challenge, we also kept wanting to get into, well, what are those solutions? And so everything just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I feel that we keep going down a lot of rabbit holes. So we need to get a little more focus on that aspect of it. But I really like the idea that Tanya was just sharing, because that does allow us to keep adding in a way that will be useful for somebody at some point if we could find a home for our work to live, that could be a really a super way for us to approach our work as well. That's about all. If anybody else from our group would like to jump in, feel free. I'm going to go on mute here so our noise isn't too loud for anybody else here.
Cornelia, I think you might be talking and you're muted.
I have great conversations with myself sometimes that way. And so any other comments or questions regarding any of the work groups? If not, thank you so much for all of the updates. It is kind of cool seeing it all come together, right? And seeing all of the great stuff that's happening and ideas and whatnot from everybody's group. And so thank you for all of your work. So now it is time to hear about bright spots. And so who has bright spots with your community and or organization that you'd like to share? Tanya?
Thank you. It's Tanya Bullock with Child Start. I'll go with the easy one that kind of follows behind what Tanya Kane was sharing. But because we had so much fun spending a year trying to change an ordinance and got it approved, we're moving on to our second ordinance change in the city of Wichita, because it's just fun. And it does take some time, but when you have the right people involved, it does move along. So step one, we've already met with the attorneys at the city to have them review that it indeed is an ordinance that can and should be changed. So that's the first step. And then kind of alongside of that, the city of Wichita is one of 7 cities across the nation who is part of the National League of Cities. And we have 9 months starting this month to help increase the early childhood workforce and entrepreneurship. So we have 4 goals we'll be tackling with other cities across the nation, and hopefully by August or September, we'll have accomplished those goals and I can share out more. So we're excited. More to come.
Thank you, Tanya. Emily?
I'm Emily Barnes, and most people know me as family child care provider in Olathe, except at the end of 2023, I moved into position as education policy advisor at Kansas Action for Children. And I want to put it on everyone's calendar that we have Early Learning Advocacy Day coming up on March 6th. And so for anybody who would be interested, we have, our group of other organizations working together to plan our Early Learning Advocacy Day. And part of what's going to go on is we're using the Early Learning Caucus over the coming weeks to help highlight to the lawmakers what has, the really strong collaborative work that has gone on in recent years to support the early childhood field. And then on Advocacy Day, use that as a way to elevate the voices of those who have participated in, supporting the workforce in these innovative programs, these solutions that we have. And then also the voices of those who are implementing these solutions, the workforce that, how are they using the programs through childcare, where through Casito, things like that. And so trying to illustrate to the lawmakers the very strong work that we're doing. So I want everybody to know about March 6th. Put it on your calendars. We're going to be getting a save the date out as soon as we can. We've been pulling details together, and just know that that's coming up.
Very good. Thanks, Emily. Natalie.
Good morning, Natalie McLean from KSDE. I just wanted to share with everybody that last Wednesday, the Kansas State Board of Education did approve the update to the Kansas Early Learning Standards. We are still waiting to get those approved February 2nd by the Kansas Children's Cabinet. But the updated standards are available on KSDE's website on the early learning page if anybody wants to check those out. As soon as we have approval from the Children's Cabinet, we hope to start printing those out and making those available to people. We're also working on building a website, so you guys will have we have access to that, and resources and training and all that is being developed. So we're really excited to have got those through the Board of Ed, and we'll soon hopefully have those through the Children's Cabinet as well.
Very good. Very excited with the new upcoming early learning standards. And so I know a lot of work went into that. So a lot of work. And so thank you for all of that. Maritas?
My bright spot is Brenda, Bandy, and Dana Book. One good thing that came from the early childhood recommendations panel is collaboration. So I serve as the chair of the Women's Chamber Network of the KCK Chamber, and Brenda and Dana are providing the presentation on the family-friendly workplaces. And I am pleased to report that the reception is really good. People are very receptive to this. We have 60 registered participants, and we still have a month to go. So thank you so much for doing that, Dana.
Awesome. Any other bright spots? If none, we have a reminder that all of the agenda items are available on the panel share SharePoint hub. And so for panel members, you'll be able to find the agenda, resources, etc. You can also, if you have any suggested agenda items, you can also submit information there. If there's something particular, Lindsay does a good job of trying to dig and find exciting things happening in Kansas, or things that you would want, that we think that you would want to know. And so, so if you have anything that you're aware of that's going on, or the projects that are happening, or that you just think it would be nice to have an update, to this group or whatnot, please make sure that you go in and fill out, the agenda form or whatnot, so that we can add that to the agendas or whatnot for our meetings. Our next, in terms of upcoming meetings, we will have our Kansas Children's Cabinet Trust Fund meeting is on February the 2nd from 9 to noon, and that is live streamed on the Children's Cabinet YouTube page. On February the 16th, we are having a early childhood governance summit during our panel meeting. So if you remember, we have that annually, and so this will be it will be a little bit different in terms of agenda. However, typically after our panel meetings, our work groups will then break out into sessions. You will have the ability to still do that if you want to. We can leave the link open. You can also schedule your own meetings either after that session and or in some other days. So we just wanted to let you know that, again, it's going to be up to you in terms of when you want to meet with your work group or whatnot. But if you want to have the link left open or whatnot, we can do that. Or again, you can schedule your own meetings. So with that being said, We are going to take a 10-minute break so that people can get coffee, take care of whatever business you need to take care of. And it is currently, let's say it's 10 o'clock. At 10:10, we will go on ahead and break out into our breakout rooms. And then our groups can, meet as long as they need to or whatnot. And then we'll be adjourned. So with all that being said, I hope that you all are staying warm this weekend. Winter does not want to seem to go away. And so it is a little bit chilly still. And so please stay safe and warm. Thank you so much for those that presented and for all of the questions and comments and whatnot that we had. You guys have a wonderful weekend. Looking forward to seeing you all in February.